Your last video ended off in the changes of India, so hopefully you finally answered your question of why the new reforms or change in India would lead to conflict between these two groups, the Indians and the British. Think of culture, think of political units, and also think about territory. Do you belong in a land that you didn't own or that you don't identify with? Think about it. Make sure you answer this question in your notes. Write this question and answer it as well. Moving on. The Sepoy Mutiny. What you need to understand first and foremost, and next to the word mutiny, you need to put revolt. Next to the word mutiny, put an arrow and put revolt. Um, revolt is spelled R-E-V-O-L-T, revolt. What you understand is that the sepoy right here will be an Indian soldier. They are an Indian soldier, but they are in the British Army. What you need to understand, and you need to put a star here, is that the Indian soldiers were placed into the British Army. So add an arrow right here and draw it from Indian soldiers to the British Army and put they were placed. You could even put forced. What Britain's going to do is they're going to try to make the Indians feel like they still have some control in India by letting them be in the British Army, okay? In 1857, though, they are going to have a strained relationship. When you think of the word strained, you need to think of they are close to their wits' end in dealing with each other, or they're not on good terms. Something will happen to make the tension grow between the Indian soldiers and the British soldiers or the British Army. It's going to lead to rebellion. Mutiny also means rebellion. Next to the word revolt, write rebellion, which means to go against. What's going to happen is that the British Army is going to introduce a new rifle. The soldiers have to bite off the cartridge before they can, there's a piece on there, they have to bite it off before they can put it inside of the gun. The problem is going to be that the cartridge is greased with beef and pork fat. Now, India has a large number of Hindu individuals as well as Muslim individuals. If you remember our world religions unit, I would like for you, underneath these notes that you've written or filled in, why would this offend Muslim and Hindus? Write this question. If it's already written for you, then provide the answer. Look at the problem. Think about their religious beliefs. Take a second to yourself and make sure you have this question answered. If you don't have it written in your notes, write it in your notes and then answer the question. Why are they going to be offended? Why does it go against their religious beliefs? Please pull that knowledge from world religions. If not, take a second to go back to your world religion notes and look at why this would offend Muslims and Hindus. Take a good look at the problem and write it down. The effects of the mutiny. All right, what's going to happen is that you will have the atrocities and brutality will be committed towards both sides. And Ms. Cannon said that wrong. I meant atrocities. Excuse me. It's early. Anyway, atrocities, which atrocities are pretty much like crimes, bad, awful things will happen, and brutality will be committed towards both sides, okay? By 1858, the British East India Company will they will no longer control India. It gets on a bigger scale, and Great Britain takes over directly. Okay, they take over directly. And one thing that you need to write is when you write the word atrocities, put an arrow off to the left side, put it off to the left side, and put crimes and violence and put horrible things, or like just describe it, because when you hear the word atrocities, it's not a nice word, it's not a friendly word. It's a word that has a negative sound because negative things are happening to groups of people. And both sides it's a fight. The Indians will do things, the British will do things. Another thing that you need to understand is that this is going to go from being on a smaller scale to a bigger scale. And what I would like for you to do on your right side is add a star and put the words bigger, smaller scale to bigger scale, and circle the British East India Tea Company. And I'd like for you to circle Great Britain, because it's going to get on a bigger scale. It's not going to be a trade company just running things in India. Now the whole nation is involved in taking over and controlling India. Take 2 seconds to yourself as well, and I would like for you to look at these men and their uniforms. From here down, their uniforms are modeled very similar to the British uniform. But if you notice, these men have kept their beards and their head garbs as a reflection of their Indian culture. They may be forced to wear this, but they still keep their heritage and their culture going right here. Moving on. What's going to happen with the Raj is that the Raj is pretty much the era of the British ruling in India. Most of the British workers believed the Indians were inferior. Next to the word inferior, or if you need to put a star right here, inferior means below, not worthy of. Okay, so put the words below or not worthy or not equal. Add it to the top. Put it next to Raj and put a star and put inferior means not worthy, less than. And they believed that they couldn't rule themselves, which is very interesting because the reason that India had problems is because the British were stirring up problems. The Indians had to live in separate neighborhoods, okay? And they also started to limit their rights. Rights are your freedoms and your liberties that you have as a human being. Now, the British do come in and they try to improve the Indians' infrastructure, which an infrastructure is like how their systems run and how they have transportation or their buildings, things like that. So what they start to do is to better improve transportation for individuals as well as trade with railroads and canals. Last but not least, the Indians, you have to understand that India was a market for British goods. And they had great resources: cotton, indigo, tea, and jute. And India became Great Britain's biggest resource for cotton, especially when America's in the Civil War, because during the Civil War, the North and the South in America are fighting each other, and the cotton industry will be ruined during this war. You can't farm if you're fighting a war against another group of people in your nation. So when America has their Civil War in the 1800s, 1860s, India is going to start being the top producer of cotton instead of America, which will only keep Britain in the nation longer. They want to be involved in there because they have those natural resources, which feed into them making their manufactured goods and making their money. This is a direct tie to mercantilism, and it's very similar to what we talked about with, yes, the slaves are taken out of the triangular trade, but we're still doing the manufactured goods, raw materials, but it has expanded to India. Make sure that you have your notes completed. If you need to fast forward or rewind, please do so. And I hope you have a wonderful day.